Welcome. In today's class, we are going to be talking about another topic in biology. And the topic we are going to be looking at today is reproductive system in mammals. So, firstly, what is reproduction? Reproduction is the ability of living organisms to give birth to their young ones of the same species. That means a goat will give birth to a goat. So the organism that will be given birth to will look like the parent. So that is reproduction. So and this reproduction, is one of the characteristics of a living organisms. Yes, reproduction is one of the characteristics of living things, and the importance of reproduction is that it ensures the continuity of life. So we have two types of reproduction. The first one is asexual reproduction, while the second one is sexual reproduction. The asexual reproduction is a type of reproduction that requires only a single parent. Only one parent is involved in asexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, there is no fission of gametes. There are only one parent is involved, and the young ones look exactly like the parent, and there is no genetic combination there is no chromosome combination in asexual reproduction. But in sexual reproduction, it is a type of reproduction that requires two parents, a male and a female. We can see that this type of reproduction take place in higher organisms. So like in man, the in sexual reproduction in man, the male cell is the spermatozoa, while the female cell is known as the ovum or the oocyte. While in flowering plants also, they have their male and female gametes, which is the pollen grains and the ovules. But for the course of today's class, we are going to be concentrating on the reproduction in man. So we are going to be looking at the reproductive system in man and in man, which involve the male and the female reproductive system. Okay, so like I said, that we are going to be looking at the reproductive system in man. So here is a diagram showing the reproductive system of the mammalian male. So we can see the organs that are responsible for reproduction, and if you look closely, we are going to see that it is not only the reproductive organs that are here, we also have the urinary organs, because they are interconnected, because their embryological origin so is or is the same. So that is why the urinary system is has close relation with the reproductive system, because here is the part of the renal aorta, the aorta. So and part of the aorta that is coming down. So we have the kidney, we have the kidney. So we have this is the ureters. Yes, ureters, and this is the bladder. I have the bladder. So you can see. So when the blood is being filtered in the kidney, and so the urine that is produced will pass through the ureter down to the bladder, and it will come out through the urethra, sorry. So you can see how these are connected. So now let's go to the reproductive system. So the first organ we are going to be looking at is this organ here, which is known as the testes. So if you look closely, you are going to see that there is a replica of the organ here. So it's a two oval structure that are located on the external portion of the or external part of the male body. Yes, it is located outside so that they can achieve the optimum temperature for sperm production, because for sperm to be produced, for other sperms to be produced, we need a lower temperature that is lower than the normal body temperature. So you can see, so the scrotum, which contains the testes, the scrotum is a sac of skin that is located outside. So it's located outside so as to achieve this this temperature. So these two oval structure are suspended through from the abdomen through the spermatic cord. So this is spermatic cord and this is another one. So they suspend the testes into down into the scrotum. So now in the testes you are going to see some tubules. So these are tubules. We call them seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules. So these are composed of sperm producing cells. So that means the production of spermatozoa takes place in the seminiferous tubules that are located within the testes. So, and also not only do we have sperm producing cells in the seminiferous tubules, we have some other cells too that perform roles in order to ensure the production of sperm. So we have the first one is the Sertoli cell. Sertoli cells. So these cells, they aid the maturation of sperm by nourishing the spermatozoa. So they aid the maturation of sperm. The second one is we have the Leydig cells. So these are also present in the within the tubules, and their function is to produce testosterone, which is an important hormone in male reproduction. Testosterone is an important hormone and they are produced by the Leydig cells. So behind the testes we have this structure that is located on the posterior part of the testes, this structure right here, so which is called epididymis. So we have another one here, another one here. So they are located at the posterior part of the testes. So what is the this epididymis? They are long coiled tube. So and what is the function of this epididymis? The function is after sperm has been produced, after sperms are being produced in the testes, they are moved into the epididymis and they are stored temporarily until they mature. So epididymis stores sperm until maturation. So then we have this dot here, we call it vas deferens. We have vas deferens. So or sperm dot. Sperm dot. It is called vas deferens or sperm dot. So from the name we can already deduce the function. So this vas deferens is a narrow tube that leads from the epididymis into the seminal vesicle. So it leads from the epididymis to the seminal vesicle. So the function of it, according to the name, is that is a passage by which sperm travels from the epididymis into the seminal vesicle. So that is why it is called sperm duct. So it takes sperm, so as it travels from the epididymis to the seminal vesicle. So the seminal vesicle is a very small is a small sac is where sperms are stored. Yes, sperm are stored there also, and also it produce is a gland because it secretes part of the seminal fluid. So it secretes about 70% of the seminal fluid, and the seminal fluid that is being secreted by the seminal gland contains fructose. This fructose energizes the sperm. It gives energy to the sperm. So from the seminal vesicle now, when the sperm move to the seminal vesicle, they are then taken to this organ here. You see this particular one called the prostate. The prostate gland. So the prostate is a small gland that has a lot of tubules that leads into the urethra. So this prostate is where the sperm are being taken to after leaving the seminal vesicle, and also it also produces part of the seminal fluid, and the fluid that is being produced by the prostate activates the sperm cell. Yes, it activates the sperm cells. So now just below the prostate we have this gland here, this very small gland here called the corpus gland. Corpus gland. So this corpus gland, okay, so it's also, some people also call it bulbourethral gland. So this bulbourethral gland also secretes part of the seminal fluid. So this gland, like I said, it secretes part of the seminal fluid, and the fluid that is being secreted by the corpus gland increases the pH of the seminal fluid in the female reproductive system. So it increases the pH of the seminal fluid in the female reproductive system. So from there, the sperm is being taken to the urethra. You can see the urethra, this long tube that runs down here. So that is the urethra. So this urethra is a long narrow tube that leads from here to the outside. Yes, it leads and it passes through the male organs, the penis. It passes through it. So this urethra has two functions. So the function is urogenital in function, because it's a passageway for urine. You know, I said it at the beginning of this class that the the excretory system and the reproductive system in mammals, they have the same origin. So that is why their structures are interconnected. So I told you that urine, when it's being produced here, it will be stored in the bladder, and from the bladder it will be let down through the urethra. So the urethra serve as a way, a passage to lead urine out of the body, and also it also serve as a passageway for sperm to move out of the male reproductive body, so into the female reproductive system. So that is the function of the urethra. So it has two functions: to expel urine and also uh, pass out the sperm during ejaculation. So the next organ we are going to be looking at is this organ. We call it penis. This penis is an organ in the male reproductive system. So it is made of tissues that can expand. So, and during sexual intercourse, this penis we is what is used to introduce the sperm into the female body. So it is what is used to introduce sperm into the female body. So we can see all these organs that make up the male reproductive system. So we have talked about we started with the testes, then the epididymis, which stores the sperm temporarily, and the sperm are produced in the testes. So in the seminiferous tubules of the testes, which contains a lot of sperm producing cells, and I also said that this spermatic cord suspend the testes, and from there the sperm will move through the sperm duct, which is also known as the vas deferens, into the seminal vesicle. From there to the prostrate gland, to the corpus gland, where these glands, the seminal vesicle, the prostrate and the corpus gland, secrete the seminal fluid, which help the sperm to perform a lot of functions, and the sperm will then be discharged through the urethra and will be introduced by the penis into the female reproductive body. So now, the next we are going to be looking at the structure of the male cell, which is known as a spermatozoa. So now, here is a structure of the male mammalian gamete. So we're going to be looking at the structure, the different components in the structure of the mammalian gamete, and how they help the sperm to achieve its goal. So that's the goal of fertilization. So now, this structure has different segments. So we're going to be looking at the different segments that are. So we have this segment called the head. So this is the head. So now the next one is this tiny part is known as the neck. So that's the neck. Then from there we have this part known as the middle piece. And here we have the flagellum or tail. And this is the end piece. This part here is the end. Now, so we can see the different segments in the structure. So now, so we are going to be looking at different structures that are there. So here we have the acrosome. The acrosome is located at the anterior part of the edge of the spermatozoa. So this acrosome contains some enzymes, some lytic enzymes that help the sperm to be able to penetrate the hard shell. So there is a shell that surrounds the oocyte. So without this acrosome, the sperm will not be able to digest, will not be able to break through into the egg. So this acrosome releases the enzymes. So this enzyme breaks the covering of the oocyte so that the sperm can go through it. So we have the nucleus. So this nucleus, you can see from what we know from our cell, that the nucleus holds the genetic information. So it contains the DNA, everything that has to do with the sperm, all the informations that the sperm carries, all the genetic informations are located on the nucleus. So they are located on the nucleus. So we have this part at this mid portion. We have this part. So this part at the middle piece, we have the mitochondrion. So the mitochondrion, is an organelle that is present in the cell. So this mitochondrion, like we've known before, that is the powerhouse of the cell. So what does it do? It gives energy to the sperm so that the sperm can move, so that the sperm can be able to swim in the female reproductive system. So we also have, at this segment, we have these are centrioles. These centrioles, they have a lot of microtubules which take part in mitosis. They take part in mitosis, and another thing about them is that they form base. They form base for cilia and flagella, and you know that the sperm has flagella. Yes, so the centrioles, they form base for flagella. So what do they use the flagella or the tail for? So this is the part, this tail or the flagellum is the part that helps the sperm to be able to swim, is for motility. So you can see it's like a whip. So it helps the sperm to be able to navigate through the female reproductive system. So we can see all the structures that are contained in the spermatozoa of a mammalian male. We are going to be looking at the structure of the female mammalian reproductive system. So like we did for the male, so this is the diagram showing the internal organs of the female reproductive system. So the first one we're going to be talking about is this structure here called the ovary. Ovary. So this ovary, we have two, as you can see on this other side, we have another one. So we have two ovaries in the female. So this ovary, they are two, like I've shown you here. So and they are located at the posterior part of the abdominal cavity. So they lie on either side of the vertebral column. So this ovary, the function is to produce egg. So the female egg is also known as the oocyte or the ova or ovum. Ova for plural, ovum for singular. So they are to produce the oocyte. So what happens is that every 28 days, an egg begins to develop in the ovary. So when this egg develop and when it has matured, then it comes out of this ovary. So the process by which it is released from the ovary is called ovulation. So you can see the eggs grow at the outer part of the ovary called the germinal epithelium. So when the egg is released, then it come out of the ovary through this is the process of ovulation. So apart from producing egg, the ovary also have other functions that it perform. So the first one is another one is that it contains cells. There are some cells in the ovary also that helps in producing the female reproductive hormones. That's the estrogen and the progesterone. You can see these two hormones, they are very vital to female reproduction. So they are produced in the ovary. And another thing is that this ovary is also responsible for the development of secondary sexual characteristics in the female. So when the egg is released from the ovary, what happens to it? Then we are going to be talking about this for this structure here. So this structure is known as the oviduct or the fallopian tube. Fallopian tube. So like the ovary, we also have two fallopian tubes. So this, and permit me to say before I proceed that the production of the egg is something that is rotated between these two ovary. So they do that alternatively. So when one release egg this month, the next time this one is going to release egg. So it's an alternating process between the two ovary. So let's go back to the oviduct now. This oviduct is a long narrow tube that receives the egg. So when the egg is released into the abdominal cavity, this oviduct will receive it. It will capture it. You can see the hand. It has a funnel shaped hand, like wings that it's used to capture the oocyte when it comes out of the ovary. So this this structure serve as the passageway for the egg to travel. So it's and another thing that happens in the in the oviduct is that the fertilization of the egg takes place in the oviduct. So the fertilization is the coming together of the male and the female cell. So when during ejaculation, when the sperm is being introduced, it comes out, then the egg stays here where it is fertilized, and the part of the fallopian tube where it is fertilized is called the ampulla. So the egg stays in the ampulla and the sperm we meet it there and fertilize it. So when it is being fertilized, then it will have to travel down in. So the oviduct is what connects the ovary to this part, and the name of this part is the uterus, otherwise known as the womb. Uterus or the womb. So this uterus is a muscular organ. Is a muscular organ that is capable of expansion. So it accommodates the growing uh, zygote. So when this zygote, that is the product of fertilization, moves from the oviduct, it moves down into the uterus and it implants itself. So what do we mean by implantation? You know, it's another body which is not joined to the body or to the female body. So when it gets here, it burrows into the body of into the wall of this uterus. So when it burrows, then it is attached to it. So then it continues to develop. So as the embryo begins to develop, it increases in size. So also the uterus too keeps expanding and expanding and expanding to accommodate the growing fetus. So it serves as the site for the development of the fetus. So that is the uterus. So there we have this part here called the cervix. So this cervix is a tiny ring of muscle. Is a ring of muscle that has a very tiny opening. So it closes the entrance. It closes the entrance into the uterus. So that it is closed up. So during pregnancy, it will be closed up so as to prevent harmful materials from coming in into the uterus. So and during when it is time for the baby to be delivered, so it's the uterus keep contracting and relaxing. So the contraction and the relaxation of the uterus we begin to open the cervix, so for the baby to be able to pass through it. So we have the uh this part. So this is the vagina. So this vagina is a long tube, so that receive the sperm. So uh during sexual activity, the vagina is receive the sperm from the penis, and the sperm travels through the vagina. So the function of the vagina is to receive the sperm during ejaculation, and also it serves as the passageway for the baby. So that's why it is also known as the birth canal. So it's the canal through which the baby pass through during birth. So And we have some structures here that, okay, we have this one, some structures here that we did not mention. So this is the urethra, and here is the bladder. So you can see the relationship between these structures, the structures of the excretory system and the structure of the reproductive system, just like in the male also. So I made mention of it that since they have common origin, so the structures are interconnected. So this is the urethra and the bladder. So we have other structures in the female reproductive system that are not included in this diagram, because these are the internal structures of the female reproductive system. So these structures I'm talking about, they are the external structures, so they are located on the outer part of the female body. So the first one I will be talking about is what is known as the mons pubis. So this is located on the anterior part of the pubic symphysis. So it is covered with, is the part that is covered with hair. So it's located on the front part of the pubic symphysis. So that's mons pubis. So it's a fat pad. So it's a pad that contains a lot of fat. So, and also we have the labia majora. So this is like lips, two lips, and it bears hair. There is hair growing on it, so it's like two lips, and it is below the mons pubis. So we have the labia minora. So the labia majora, two lips that contains that is composed of hair, while the labia minora do not possess hair. They do not contain hair, so they are hairless. They are two folds that lies below the labia majora, but they are hairless. So we have the vestibule. So the vestibule is the area that is covered by the labia minora. So the areas that are covered by it, we call it the vestibule. So we also have Bartholin's gland. So this Bartholin's gland, there are two glands that are located on the on either side of the vaginal orifice. So when I say vaginal orifice, that's the opening of the vagina. So they are located on either side of the vaginal opening. So the function of the Bartholin's gland is to secrete mucus to lubricate the area during stimulation. So during sexual stimulation, so the Bartholin's gland secretes mucus that lubricates the area. So these structures are part of the so are part of the they are part of the female reproductive system, but they are located on the outside. So all these structure, the general name for all of them is the vulva. So the vulva is the collective name for all these structures that I've made mention of: the mons pubis, the labia majora, labia minora, the vestibule, and the Bartholin's gland. So we all refer to them as the vulva. Looking at the structure of the female gamete. So this is the female gamete. Okay, so we have talked about the male gamete and how the different parts of it enables the spermatozoa to be able to achieve its goal. So this is the female gamete. So you can see that the female gamete is bigger. So it is bigger than the male gamete. So now this is the nucleus. That's the nucleus. And we know that the nucleus is what bears the genetic information of a living organism. So the genetic information, the DNA of this egg, of this oocyte, is located within is embedded within the nucleus. And this nucleus has a central core, so which is the germinal vesicle. So and the nucleus which is the germinal disc, is present there. So we have the cytoplasm. So this is the cytoplasm. So this cytoplasm contains the yolk, which serves as nourishment for the embryo. So during the embryonic stage, before implantation takes place, so and the baby and the embryo begins to derive nutrients from the mother. So this yolk, the cytoplasm, nourishes the embryo. So it serves as nourishment for the embryo. So uh, we have the plasm is surrounded by two membrane. So the inner membrane is called the vitelline membrane, and the outer one is called the plasma membrane. So you can see that this membrane, they protect the integrity of the egg cell. So when fertilization has taken place, they prevent what is known as polysperming. That means another sperm will not be able to go through the membrane to fertilize the egg again. So once the egg has been fertilized by one sperm, so this membrane, they becomes hard, so they will not allow uh, another sperm to be able to go through to fertilize the egg the egg the second time. So now that about different we have learned about different structures of the male and the female reproductive system. So we have seen the differences and the similarities between them. So between the gametes, so the differences between the gametes is that um the male gamete is motile. That means it can move, while the female gamete cannot move. The female gamete does not move, it is immotile. So the male gamete is small compared to the female gamete, while the male gamete is small, so while the female gamete is big. So that is why it can be seen with the naked eye, but the male gamete cannot be seen with the naked eye. So during release, we can see that the male gametes are released in millions, while the female gametes will only are released in few numbers. So very few numbers of the female gamete will be released. Male gamete has tail for movement or flagella for movement, while the female gamete does not have uh, flagella for movement. So we can say that the male gamete has head, so while the female gamete do not possess egg. The male gamete lacks the vitelline membrane, while the female gamete possess vitelline membrane. So these are the differences between the two gametes. Now, so what are the differences? Okay, differences between the male and the female reproductive system. So you can see that in the male reproductive system, you can see that sperms are produced in the male reproductive system, while in the female reproductive system, sperm are not produced. So in the but eggs are produced, which are called oocytes, while eggs are not produced in the male. So another difference between them is that the like I said earlier, that the male reproductive system produce a lot of sperm at once, while the female reproductive system produce few oocytes. They produce few oocytes. Another differences between the male and the female reproductive system is that uh, ovaries are present in the female reproductive system, while ovaries are not present in the male reproductive system. Instead, they have testes. So testes are absent in the female reproductive system. Female reproductive system, cervix is present, while in the male reproductive system, cervix is absent. In the female reproductive system, there is no Cowper's gland, there is no prostate gland, there is no seminal gland. While in the female reproductive system, in the male reproductive system, we have the Cowper's gland, the seminal gland, and the prostate glands. In the female reproductive system, we have the Bartholin's gland. In the male reproductive system, we do not have the Bartholin's gland. So what are the similarities between the two uh, reproductive systems? So the similarity is that both have gonads. Yes, they both have gonads. The male reproductive gonad is the testes, while the female reproductive gonad is the ovary. So they both have gonads. So another thing is that they produce cells, they produce reproductive cells, so which are spermatozoa and the oocyte. Another thing is that another similarity between them is that they both have opening where the cell will pass through. So they have opening through which the cells that are produced, the cells that are produced will pass through. So another similarities between the two is tubes through which the gamete will pass. So these are the similarities between them. So they have tubes, and they also act as ductless glands. So the two gonads act as ductless gland. So with this, we have learnt a lot about the reproductive system in man. So we learnt about the structure of the male and the female reproductive system. We also learnt about the structure of the cell in the male and in the female. So we are also able to see the differences and the similarities between both systems. So I believe that today that you've been able to learn about the reproductive system. So I'll see you in our next class. Thank you. Bye bye.